Hi, I want to concentrate now on the administration block, which is on the left-hand side, because that's where you control a lot of the settings, so the basic settings for Moodle. Um, Turn editing on, you actually have two ways of doing that. It's either here or a button over here. And basically that turns all your editing tools on so that you can add or change your interface. The next one down is settings, and I'll click on that because that takes you through to all the basic settings of the class. Now most of these you won't need to change, but a few of them can be important. Okay, now if you are working with an existing subject, most of this will be filled in for you. You've got subject name, short name for it, there's a description of the subject. Normally this should be the subject description that appears in the accredited document. Now this is one that you might want to change to suit your taste. It's the format or the layout of Moodle. Now by default I put it in topics format because that's the easiest to think about and easiest to see, but you can change it to a weekly format which will give you dates next to each section, or I like to use this tab format which gives a set of tabs up the top with topics on it. So it's much easier for the students to move around through the content. Now, whether you're using topics or weeks, you can have choose the number of. I put it at 9, so that if people want to use it as weeks, they've got a 9-week term. You've also got start date, which is relevant if you have the weekly selected, but not if you've got topics selected. The rest of them is something that just little things that change the way it's displayed. What I want to show you, which is probably more important to you, is this one down here. It's availability. And this is something that you can use to make this subject available to your students. Now, students have passwords to the system itself. They don't then have automatic access to every subject. We have to give them access to the subject. Now there's two ways of doing this. One way is we put them in manually, and I'll show you that in a moment. But the other way is to give them an enrollment key. Now, at the moment I've got a generic enrollment key here, but you can put whatever enrollment key or word you want that's like your secret code word for the students. And what you do is when they come into the classroom, then you tell them the code key, and the first time that they log on to your class, they find it amongst the list of all the classes. They'll be asked for a key. They'll put in the key, and then from then on that particular student is registered for the class and they don't need to do it anymore. Okay, I think that's all down on this one, so I'll just click cancel to get out of it, but obviously if you want to save changes you can. The next one that's important, particularly to a new teacher, and if you want to manually assign your students to your class, you can do it this way. So you just click on this assign roles, which actually probably looks different for you, but you can certainly will have students as one of the roles that you can assign. So if I click on student, it will give me a list of all students on the system on the right hand side. Hundreds and hundreds of students. At the moment there's no one on the left hand side. So what I can do here is if I select a student at random, let's say Edward, I can do a search for that student and it will come up with all the Edwards, and I can choose my Edward, my student. I actually find the easiest way to do it is to enter 4 or 5 digits from the student number and do the search that way. So if I wanted this student here, I might go 4050, search, and I've only got that one student at the moment. So I click on him and I can simply click add, and now he appears on the left hand side, so that student is enrolled in my class. Now if you've got a small number of students, say less than 20, that's not really a very time consuming thing to do. You can do it and you know that all your students are enrolled. One little glitch you might have sometimes, you may not find your student on this list. There could be a couple of reasons. Sometimes the name that the student you're used to using isn't on the database. Go by the names on the roll. Even safer is to go by the student number. That's much more reliable. Another reason that you might find a student isn't there is that they aren't there at that point in time because they're perhaps very new. And if that's the case, then ask your program director or talk to Sudhir, and we can make sure that that student's put into the system. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go back to the main page, and here's a little trick. Always to go back, you can click on what this is called a breadcrumbs, and if you click on the subject name, it'll always take you back, no matter where you are, it will take you back to the main page for that subject. Just going down on the administrative side, just to explain some of these things, I won't go into them at this stage. You can look after your grades within the system. Eventually we hope to integrate those with the official grading system, but at this stage it's separate, so if you record the grades there, you still have to manually enter them in on the roll at the end of term. Learning outcomes is just where you've got classes for vocational education. You can put students into groups if you wish. There's backup and restore, which is a separate topic. You can reset the class. That's something you only have to do at the beginning of the semester. And basically that gets rid of all the information about students from previous classes. There are a number of reports. You can look at what students are accessing, what things in Moodle. So if you want to know if they've looked at the subject outlines or if they've looked at a particular exercise, you can find that out reasonably easily. You've got questions there for quizzes. The last one here is quite important, that's the files. Now the way it works for Moodle is that, in a sense, everything that you see here in the screen, all the content, is just an interface. The actual files have to be stored somewhere, just like files are stored on your computer. So if you click on this folder here, you'll find that there are a number of directories and files, and you can actually upload files from your computer and then make them accessible to your students. But I'll show you in a separate recording how you can do that.